Right. Good morning. It is Sunday, and it is the Snowbirds meeting room. I'm Shadow Spectre 11, and I'm here with Space Guy Ty and Tone. Welcome. This
Hi,
is
everybody.
my little discussion about SC news for the week, and some gameplay when something's hot, and also uh, news about what has come about during the week. The main topics for today are the Argo Atlas and the Q&A for it, and also Tone brought up a very, very good point about ships. What has changed in the roles of some ships? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to the scene. And here we are. So, starting out, the Argo Atlas. Extensively tested by myself and Ty. Hello, Chiggy. Welcome. Not much. What's going on, man? Hey, Red.
Going out.
Hello there. Oh, Jiggy Jiggy, get it one time.
What's up, Red?
Hey man, how you feeling?
A little bit better each day.
All right.
All right, man.
So, the topic to start for today, the Argo Atlas. I tested it in the PTU, and Ty it started out as an Evo test, and Ty let me try it out while I was in there, and I fell in love with it. That doggone thing is cool, okay?
You and most of the community, I think.
Right? So the next day in the PTU, they went to Wave 1 testers, which I am part of. And it was, I was in there doing all sorts of things with it. Now, it did have problems going in and out of ships at first. And the movement was slow, even when you sprint it. They did increase the sprint. The tractor beam is dead on. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It is janky in some of the controls. Then they went to all backers, and people are just loving it. At this point in time, the price of the Atlas is a major controversy on Spectrum. A lot of people were saying it should have been $20, $25, $30, $35, $45. Okay, so in the store right now, if you're concierge, $35 war bond with a paint. If you decide to do a war bond off the pledge store, okay, it's $35. LTI tokens. If you do not go war bond and use store credit, $40, 6 months insurance. There are paint packs for it and things like that. So I've used it. I like it. I'm enjoying it. And it cuts down my cargo loading time and offloading time by tons.
Let me see him.
You guys' thoughts? What do you guys think?
About the pricing, I have something specific to say about the pricing.
Okay, go.
Everybody's saying that the Argo is only worth like 15. Well, not everybody. I'm sorry. There's a lot of people trying to say this is just a little walker mech and it's useful, but it's really only worth about $15, $20. That's fine, but that's not what you're buying, is it? You're not buying a mech. You're buying a mech and an LTI token that can be transferred.
LTI
Right.
token.
yeah, that LTI token by itself is worth $40 to a lot of people. Not to me personally. I don't think insurance is going to be a big deal. But considering the average price of an LTI token with 4 bond ship sales and stuff like that, that $40 is a steal, right? And anybody who says that they're buying that, spending $40 on just the mech, and the LTI token doesn't factor into it, is either just lying to themselves or you, or doesn't really understand, is new enough to the game that they don't understand what LTI means.
Right.
Like, they might know what the term stands for, but they might not have an understanding of what they're buying, or they probably feel better about the value.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
No, it was complete.
Okay, cool. Glad to hear that. You're also purchasing future functionality.
Yeah.
Because you have a left arm, and this thing should come with little modules that will persist with helping you with bigger crates, like a second tractor beam or any number of little things. If you want to go mining with it, you're that level of person. That's what I'm looking at. Because unitaskers never have been very good for anything else but what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. They have said that they're exploring the options of adding other functionality that can be,
Well, you also got to remember too. Now, in Squadron 42, there is a weaponized Titan suit, if I'm correct, and that's supposed to be exclusive to Squadron 42. So, it's called the Titan suit. And
it's a weaponized mech. Yeah.
So, SC right now in the alpha is the test bed. And to me, I'm going to say this thing. It moves beautifully for the first iteration. I mean,
Yeah.
the animation on it is amazing. And for what you're getting for the $35, okay? You're getting a powerful tractor beam, which is going to change ship tractor beams. They did state that tractor beams are going to change on ships because of this tractor beam on the Atlas. So it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone to better gameplay mechanics and things of that nature. I don't have a problem with it. I love the thing. It's cutting down when you're by yourself and you're out, in the hangar, or in the on the yeah, but even on the moons,
It depends on how you think about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, you think about it, and a lot of people, and I'm not jabbing at most players are gamers. They're not interested in being a part of the test bed, right? They don't keep up with stuff, and that's fine. Like, that's, you play how you play, you live how you live. People don't have time to do that. As a result of that, though, most people think about this game in terms of a finished product, at least on some level, right? So if you look at the Atlas in terms of a finished product, it's not good. It's not complete. It has its problems.
Yes.
Even at this point, right? But if you look at it as a step towards a finished product, man, what a step.
Agreed.
Right? It has, like, they come up with this cargo gameplay and everybody's doing all this extra work with max lift and tractor beam, and then they just drop the Atlas on us out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And just makes cargo running so much easier.
Yes.
In one fell swoop. It is a great step in the right direction.
Agreed.
And it's nice that it's working as good as it is right out of the box.
Right?
I mean, It is a little janky at times. I mean, we've all encountered it, but day one jump, it performs immensely. I mean, just great. I enjoy it.
A lot of our ships don't work as well as that does that have been in game for years. Just saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, to be fair, to just put another weight on that scale, like, ships are a lot more complicated than the Atlas to get right, though.
Well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But, they've had years to work on that versus the months that they've been working on. But there's also a different scale for the Atlas. If it doesn't do what it's going to need to do to design-wise, then folks are going to tell CIG where they can put it. So it had to be closer to right than, say, a Starfarer or pick another ship in general.
Yeah, considering its simplicity, there would have been less of an excuse if it came out and was awful.
Right.
Well, okay. This is a product of Squadron 42.
The Atlases?
I mean, coming out, there is supposed to be a weaponized mech exosuit.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
You mean like walking mechs in general?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
could there be years behind the development of this thing?
Maybe not necessarily the Atlas, but however much time they spent on a mech suit in Squadron 42 probably went into the Atlas.
Yeah, because I could see this being a test bed for that mech suit.
Sure. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, yeah, it is very much that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because
That's not all it is, but yeah.
If I'm picking up, let's say I'm picking up a cargo from scrapyard. If I've got a size 3 or size 2 gun in my left arm, then I have some self-defense capacity for the potential griefing that's going to go on in those areas because they're not armistice zones.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Okay. There's a caveat being in the Atlas suit. You cannot protect yourself. You cannot
That's
draw a
absolutely
weapon.
correct.
You cannot pull a weapon. At this point in time, CIG did say that they did not intend for it to be indestructible. Okay? It is a known issue. And they're working on that, and there are things with that. In the Q&A, okay, I'm going to jump over to the Q&A on the Atlas right now, on the screen. So, this was a question. Does the Atlas provide any environmental protection? If not, can I wear an exploration suit while piloting it? At this point in time, yes, you can, but eventually you're going to have to, and we all know this because this has been stated, that you're going to have to take off your backpack, your weapons, and things like that to sit in the pilot seat eventually. Okay, so you can wear a flight suit or whatever. And then here's one. Does the Atlas provide any armor for my character, or does it influence my hitbox? So would a bullet to the chest count as damage against the Atlas or my player character? And they came up with this. Good morning. The Atlas is a Squadron 42 asset that was transferred over to Star Citizen. The only work they did is to add updated tractor beam technology. Well, welcome Wolf 002, and thank you for confirming. Okay, for this initial release, the Atlas is invulnerable, but any bullets that hit the player will deal the same damage as they usually would. For example, shooting a player in the arm still applies damage to the arm along with the associated multipliers. We will be following up in a future release to include damage, visual damage effects, and destruction, so the Atlas won't be invulnerable forever. So they know they are going to change it. And another feature that the Atlas needs besides the use of the left arm, because we know eventually that's going to change, floodlights. There are no floodlights on the Atlas. So if you're in the dark, all you've got is your headlamp, your torch on your helmet. That's it. Anybody got any thoughts?
I do. I think that, I mean, okay, I could deal without the headlamps on the Atlas, or not the, yeah, on the Atlas, right? Where you have your suit light, you know, that's functional, but it was a huge oversight not to have a rotating yellow beacon on that thing. I mean, come on. We need wee-woo lights. Everything needs wee-woo lights.
I have to agree with that statement. They do not meet the OSHA standards of safety.
Okay.
Right? And I don't, like, for that specific thing, I don't want, like, the flashing LEDs, like on the Cutlass Reds and Blues, right? Which those are cool, don't get me wrong, I love those. But on this, it needs to be a rotating yellow beacon that throws that light around the floor.
Okay.
It's a gumball light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you guys want that suit that Ripley was whooping,
That's
whooping
exactly
the
what we
alien.
want.
You want
Of course,
that
that's
one.
exactly what we want.
Yeah.
It needs a beacon and it needs loading lights.
Yeah.
Target lights.
I mean, come on.
That's cool.
And you know what? Damn the computational expense. Give me that ray trace beacon lighting that flings around the floor.
Well, they even have light packs that will do the light casting itself.
Okay.
I mean,
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
All
I
right.
mean, think about the lights in the bays where they have the light saturation down the edge of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what that is.
Yeah,
Then you got
road
to
rash.
put in your shadows and everything else.
Well, the reason I want it ray traced is because I want it to,
Hey, Billy's Brew.
like, I want it to really be able to reflect and cast, like, change the lighting on a specific object or individual if they get close to it, and cast the appropriate shadows,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of stuff. Like, I want it because, like, what kind of scenes can you set with that,
Okay.
or will be naturally set with that if it casts realistic shadows?
Oh, I could see
And I
walking
just-
into a fire with a fire suit on with the full-size fire extinguishers on this thing.
Hey, Gortok. Yep, paints for the Atlas are in the store, and they're good paints. Shaved showed me the black one. Oh, gotta have it.
Oh, and then there's smoke. If it's in smoke or fog,
Yep.
and it's throwing that light around. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it needs lights. Okay, your headlamp on your helmet is just not enough because it is blocked. If you've used it, it is blocked.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is blocked.
Yeah. Okay.
So
But
it needs floodlights.
I do have another need on this thing. If you're inside a low-hanging cargo bay,
It needs to
you
crouch.
it needs either crouch or the ability to see through the crate so you can see where you're putting it.
Okay.
The Chevrolet currently has what's called a trailer camera where you can see through the trailer in your rearview mirror.
Hmm.
So the technology's real. It wouldn't
Okay.
be that difficult to put it on this to see the outline of the crate,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see where you're putting it, especially if you're loading a C2 to the max.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complicated extra step to jump out of your mech, run over there with a max lift, stack everything, and then get back in and reload it. We can simply see where it's going.
Or get a buddy to do that part. The problem is the max lifts won't move 32 SCU boxes anymore.
Right.
Right.
Hey, Shade, welcome.
Hey, thanks.
So you need two buddies to support each other and move.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I would like to see is a different, like, okay, they spoke about the exact solution to this, right? Is that some ship tractor beams, like Shadow mentioned earlier, would have that functionality, or you could put on a different tractor beam that had the other, the normal, like, manual movement functionality that we're all used to. So you could choose what tractor beam goes on your ship. Well, you've got a right and a left, right? So you use the main tractor beam for the long traversal distances, get a big pile over in the area. Then you go over there and use your left-hand tractor beam or whatever to move and stack them carefully.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, I mean, you do have some control. I do. When I was loading today and I was going through it, using the mouse button, if you could kind of see through the box, it would definitely help it a lot. Because you would have to look up under the box to see where it could be placed on the grid. And that's
I keep having to set mine down just to see, so that would be an adjustment I think I agree with.
Yeah, it needs a little refinement. But
Just raise or lower the height, like maybe use some kind of WASD control to, not necessarily WASD, up, down, left, right, to just kind of move the box right there next to you to clear your vision.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it for what it is, and they're doing it. It works very well. It's just clunky because it's the first iteration. But for a first iteration, I'm loving it.
It is a great step in the right direction, yes.
I had a question about the mech. Why can't I move?
What do you
All
mean?
right.
Why can't
There's
you move?
it's a bug. Get out of it again and get back into it, because it doesn't always trigger mouse movement.
Yes.
I ran it.
No,
I
just
ran
get
into
back
that last
into
night.
Is this happening right now, Red?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had that problem.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
It won't move forward, go to the right or to the left, and nothing like that.
Jump out of it.
Oh, okay, it's moving now.
Yeah.
There is a little delay I noticed this morning.
Dude.
Okay.
Meep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop, bop, bop. That's what I feel like.
Really? Okay. But anyway.
The minions to show up.
Another potential idea they could have is just a switch between automatic and manual mode, right? Automatic, it's like, okay, like especially if I'm going to set something down, right, putting it in a C2 and I select where it's going, it's going to make a beeline for that thing, and it's just going to bang its way, brute force its way, knock crap over, knock itself around, damage your ship, whatever, to get it to where it needs to be. Well, what if I could hit the button to send it, and then when it gets close to the pile or the obstructions, I could just hit a button to stop it, move it to adjust where it's at, get it in a good position so it's got a good line of sight on the target area, and then hit a button to resume, and then it automatically places.
Like if you're in a space station, can you store this?
No.
Like on the elevator?
No.
The Atlas.
No.
You have to put it on the pad itself.
Okay.
You
So
have
you're
to
going to walk it to the right or left. And
Yeah,
store
I'm
your
just
ship.
trying to figure out how would you, like, once I call it, if I don't put it on my ship, I have
You-
to just
you have to
back down,
leave it.
right?
You have to leave it. There is no recall. Okay. This is what I've now, we know that it can be spawned at a mining facility. Okay. Like a Platinum Bay. Because I went and checked. So there, I think you can store it. But in your hangar, the hangar elevator has to be up.
Yep.
So if you close it, you would have to bring up another ship, right? Or a vehicle or something, move it off, then place the Atlas on there, and then store it. That's the only way.
They need a button on the ASOP terminal to raise an empty pad.
Agreed.
Or they need in the bigger hangars a pad off to the side like a Platinum Bay where you can put small things to store in the ship delivery system.
Well, that's what
Well,
the
to be
freight elevator's for. But once
To be fair, yeah, the freight. Yeah, sorry, Shadow, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were
No.
saying exactly what I was thinking.
yeah, the freight elevator doesn't have the functionality for vehicles yet, and that's where I would prefer to get the Atlas and my vehicles, because going up and down on the big platform right now, we have it. You know,
Yes.
that's a big plus for me, because I love having to get my vehicles. I don't have to go to the moon anymore. You know, unless I'm there and say I want to spawn my rock or something like that. But right now, I'm loving that. But to be
Yes,
fair,
please.
we do want the functionality of the freight elevator to bring up our vehicles.
You just raised a good point.
Shoot.
Inadvertently. If
Okay.
I'm out mining in my rock and it breaks down, because they do, can I get my mech suit and tractor beam it back onto the ship?
As long as it can lift it, yeah.
Well, the mech suit, remember, I'm not sure how that automatic placement, because vehicles don't attach to cargo grids currently. So if depending on the size of what you're doing, like I would be wary of that rock colliding with the ship, because if you're trying to put a rock in a Cutlass Black with an Atlas and you click that place button, you're basically just shooting a rock at a Cutlass Black and hoping it doesn't blow either one of them up.
Well, you're not putting both of those in a Cutlass Black.
Well, no, I'm just saying whatever the size of the door
Yes. I
is going
understand.
to be a limiting factor there. So I wouldn't count on that being something you'd be able to do all the time. But yeah, it's possible.
Like, for instance, I'm in a C2.
Mm-hmm.
Could I, if it broke down, we ought to see just what this thing will lift in its current state. That'll answer those questions.
Okay. Wolf 002 says, in the Star Citizen Live episode, they said that the hangars will have modules that you can attach to your hangar that would act as garage parking spots for your ships and vehicles. That's very true.
Nice.
Right,
Nice.
but that's only your persistent hanger.
Right.
Which means
Now-
my small hangar ain't gonna hold nothing.
Right, but your hanger though will grow in size with whatever the largest ship you own when the next patch comes out. So,
Right.
and that includes in-game ships, in-game bought ships with credits.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Well, that's good because my largest owned ship is a Vulture.
Yeah, I only have a cutter. That's my only pledge ship, but I have an extra large hangar because I have in-game 890 jump reclaimer.
Correct. Same here. I don't have an 890 jump. I didn't want to waste my money on it, but yeah. So your personal hangar will be as large as your largest ship, you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if that ship was pledged real money or credits.
Right.
All right. And
It's not in this first iteration. Okay, when you bring a 890 jump tone, you're going to get an instanced hanger, not the personal hanger.
Right.
Go ahead.
But I think
Yeah,
what he's-
it's only at patch release. That's when your personal hanger size is set. So I have an extra large hanger because when this patch was released, I had an 890 jump and a reclaimer in my in my inventory.
Right. Also, remember when base building comes out, we should be able to customize our hangars. Yes, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
I
So,
mean, eventually, all of this stuff we're talking about is going to be moot because you'll be able to move your persistent hanger or purchase hangar space, or rent it wherever you want.
mhm.
You know, whether that's on space stations or landing zones, or your base that you build, it's all going to be, if you own it or are renting it, it will be fully customizable and persist.
Right.
That's the end goal dream. So
Okay. So, with this, the Atlas does not have any storage. None whatsoever.
That's an understatement.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, there's nothing to store on.
Exactly. But this is a question, and we've already talked about this. Is the Atlas equipped with bright headlights to enable me to work at night, or rotating flashing lights for safety and the industrial vibe? This is for the initial release. The torch on your helmet will be the only artificial light source. However, we intend to add lights to the Atlas in a future update. So that's the answer to that question.
yeah, we already covered that accidentally, I guess.
Right. But then
Cutting edge, buddies.
are there any exchangeable vehicle components, power generator, tractor beam, etc., to customize the Atlas? And we've talked about this too. Paints are supported, but vehicle components and the tractor beams are not customizable for the initial release. We have plans to update the Atlas to make use of resource network features like adding a battery that needs to be physically swapped out to replace it. Okay, so resource network is coming for that.
So in short, if we have an org level storage facility, we could have one guy producing batteries for the org for his experience, and another guy selling them or wherever, and we could make money in the right directions with that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not so sure, because I was thinking about this, because it's like, how does that, like, that has so many implications, right? You're gonna have to swap. It doesn't have a power supply, right, like a ship does, so it's not infinite. It has a battery that has to be swapped out. If that's how that reads. That's the current intention. So how many batteries do you have to take with you if you're doing something out in the middle of nowhere? Can those batteries be recharged, right? Can I take them to the ship and plug it into something? Is there going to be a recharge? Or are we going to be dependent on the charge and drain stuff that they're building into the multi-tools, which is what I think is going to happen. So I don't think producing batteries is going to be a thing we can make much money off of, because everybody's going to buy a set of like 4 or 5 and just recharge them. Because you'll be able to take your multi-tool or whatever to your ship power supply, or the ship batteries, I guess, would probably be a better place, and drain the battery into your multi-tool, right? And then take that charge to a battery that's sitting beside you in the cargo bay or whatever, and charge it. And then the ship recharges the ship battery. Now this is speculation on my part. I'm just kind of thinking through all the things that I know that they're putting together and trying to see how it might fit together. I haven't read anything official on that.
Okay, so we know in 4.0 that the fire extinguishers, just an example, are going to be charged in their compartments. Okay?
Right.
So I don't see, I'm guessing, if there's going to be a place where the Atlas can be placed on a charging area, or the batteries. Either way.
Well, then you run into, like, are you going to have now if you've got that, if you decide to go that route, now you've got to make further modifications to ships. You've got to
not to
assets.
not to the ship. I'm saying in your hangar, you can place it in a charging station. But on the ship, you're going to have to carry the batteries. You know what I'm saying now? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't
I understand
clarify.
what you're saying. I probably wasn't listening to
Kind
you.
of like your little robot vacuum cleaner at home. It has a whole little home base it goes into to do its things.
Mm-hmm.
But that home base still has to be created. Now, maybe they'll do it for the hangars. That seems like a good middle ground. but I don't see them doing it for ships. Which you didn't say that anyway. That was something I got in my head.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Probably in
fine.
futures, ships like the Ironclad and the Pioneer, they may have charging stations on those ships. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, the Carrack could really use one too, since that's supposed to be a multi-role exploration ship.
Well,
Yeah.
when the drones come active, they're going to have charging stations.
Now, will
The,
those charging stations be for Atlases? Because understand, we might have other things that run off batteries in the future, right? Different size mechs or completely different things that aren't mechs. They're going to need batteries. So what do? Do you build a charging station for all of these different vehicles, or that they could vary in size, right? Or do you just make a charging station for universal batteries and
The
swap them out?
universal one sounds more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
think of the Reclaimer as a good example. You're moving large freight in an enclosed area on this. Do you put a large tractor beam inside the bays? Or do you have the ability to walk a mech around in there with its own charging area so that you can move these 16 SCU crates?
The Reclaimer itself, that
It
needs
needs-
so much rework. I don't want
Yeah.
to speculate on how they do that.
Well, I spend a lot of time, I used to spend a lot of time in mine, but I would love to see them do away with the grid in that ship and relocate the dispensers for
Reclaimer.
larger crates.
So he says, Wolf is saying, Reclaimer, we rework, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. What they need in the Reclaimer is a grid on that bottom floor too. Like they need it to haul as much as it looks like it can haul. I'm not saying they need it to stack up to the ceiling, but maybe I would say 4 SCU high down in the cargo storage area, 2 SCU high in the production area, right? And you can keep the actual cargo hold that's forward of that the way it is, and put a cargo grid on the cargo elevator.
Okay. Hello. What's up, Dyer?
well,
Go ahead.
speaking of the cargo grids on the Reclaimer, I've come to it seems to me like you can't sell off of the rafters anymore, because I used to stack crap in mine everywhere,
We all do.
and I'm
yeah.
having to move it because it doesn't sell where it's at.
So you sell off the grid, then you have to go back to the ship and drop that stuff down to sell the rest.
Right. So where he's coming from, I would have a retractable floor in the middle so that you could move large crates straight down to the existing grid that doesn't exist on the salvage storage level. And when that gets full, then close the floor and then go up from there, since you can't sell off of everything else.
Okay.
There again, rework.
Yeah.
I find it more likely that they will just take that back elevator, in the very, very back there,
Then,
and
yeah.
put a little cargo grid on it, because they've already got it there, right? You don't have to rework the assets in the ship if you just do something like that, or minimal rework of the assets, right?
Well,
I think it more likely they would do something like that and make it actually functional to move cargo between those two floors.
Okay.
because right now, to move cargo to the cargo storage, you have to clip it through the top of the
You mean,
elevator.
real,
on
just
the
so I'm
ship.
on the same page you are, do you mean cargo storage or salvage storage?
Salvage storage. Cargo
Okay.
storage is the same problem. In fact, it's worse. All right. The cargo storage is only built for 1, 2, 4, and 6 SCU crates. An
Right.
8 SCU runs into the chain hoist at the beginning of the elevator. And you have to clip it through the top of the elevator to get it in there. And it does not fit on the existing grids in that area.
Yeah.
The salvage storage has the same problem. You can't.
The salvage storage doesn't even have a grid, does it?
No, it does not.
Yeah.
and you have to clip it through the top of the elevator to get them down there too. And then you have to drag them across a floor that has holes in it. And it's just not conducive to a whole lot unless you just got the patience of Noah to move stuff around.
So if I'm reading you correctly, what you're saying is that the reclaimer needs so much asset rework anyway that rethinking the elevator
Yes.
in the back isn't out of the way.
No, that's actually, do I want mustard or peanut butter on my bread today versus do I want a sandwich, a hoagie, or a steak?
Okay. No, I get you.
Okay.
And, you know, and I've got hours of time in one of these ships.
Okay.
Days even.
Okay. I mean, we've all spent a whole lot of time in the reclaimer, and
Yep.
the Atlas does have a problem going into the salvage area. It has
Yeah,
a
'cause
big problem.
It has to clip through the top of the elevator because it's too short.
Personally, I would rather see an overhead tractor beam in the reclaimer,
It
like an
needs
overhead
it.
crane. Yeah.
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 Instead of using an Atlas, just put an overhead tractor beam in there. But
Well, okay. That's another thing. Excuse me. Everybody who has a C2, okay, on that in the middle section of the roof of the ship,
Yeah.
they say there should be a tractor beam there. CIG has stated they are not going to put one there.
yep.
It's not going to happen. So that's another thing. I think that should be an asset for the C2 because of the fact that you're moving 32s, okay? It's going to be clunky for the Atlas to do it. And you know, I just think that it should be in there, but that's my thought. But they said they're not, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see one in there too, but I can also see their side of it, right? One of the downsides of having a C2 is it doesn't have a dedicated tractor beam. It's only clunky in the Atlas now, right? We don't know how they're going to rework the Atlas to make it maybe not clunky,
True.
right? Maybe,
True.
you know, you could say that the Atlas is meant to be paired with a C2.
Yeah. Okay. The Reclaimer will grow in size with the increase to its components to capital
It
yeah.
needs to.
They are making they said that they're rebalancing the Reclaimer to capital size components, which needs to be done because the ship is huge on that aspect. Okay, one thing.
I'm only worried because
Go ahead.
We don't have access right now. We don't have access to purchase capital components or swap them out, and the default quantum drive in the Reclaimer is god awful. So if they replace it with a capital quantum drive, is it gonna be like just as god awful? and are we gonna be stuck with that until we're able to swap,
Yeah,
customize that?
we don't know.
But that's a temporary problem, and that's just something we'll deal with if it happens.
Right.
Well, you're running into another issue, which you're making a good point. The components for the Reclaimer are awful, but if you upgrade the quantum drive, you can't make it to the next planet. It uses too much fuel.
No, you can upgrade it to the civilian class A, and you get a better combination of speed and efficiency. I mean, granted, you do lose some of the efficiency, but you do gain quite a bit of speed, and that's what I do the civilian class A.
Okay.
Not like the military class A, God no.
Oh,
But the civilian class A, I can't remember the name of it right now.
the
not talking
TS2 sucks the fuel out of a
Yeah,
Reclaimer.
you don't put a TS2 in a Reclaimer.
No.
Yeah.
It's like a Chimera or something. I can't.
Chimera.
Yeah.
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 Oh, you know what? I've got my C2 in. I can look at it right now.
Give me a second. 1 second. It will be the same components that are in the 890 jump for right now. Okay.
It's an Erebos.
Okay. Erebos
Is the grade 3A, the grade 3A.
Yeah, that one I know you can get at
Cousin Crows.
Cousin Crows and Argo 1.
I hope that. Yeah, I just hope it's not too long before we have the ability to customize capital components.
Okay.
Essentially, that's it.
So, with the speed of the Atlas, now they did state that how fast does it move? Will it increase my max running speed? No. It's a mech, and it's a relatively slow mech. When walking, it roughly matches the player's fast walk. When sprinting, the Atlas is between the player's fast walk and slow run speed. The initial power suit is designed to traverse hangars and move cargo, not rush into combat or explore the wilderness. That answers that question.
Yeah, the Atlas moves boxes fast. It does not move people fast.
Right.
Yeah, if you want that, get a mule.
Okay. Can it jump, and does it reduce my fall damage? At this point, the Atlas cannot jump. Given the role, this may or may not change in the future, but future power suits with more combat or exploration-oriented roles may support jumping. No fall damage is taken currently due to it being invulnerable, unless you somehow hit a rock with your exposed head while falling.
AFK.
Okay. EVA, there is no EVA on the Atlas because there's no jump jets or no thrusters or anything like that. Once you exit it out in space, you can't get back in it. So you'll be floating, and the Atlas will be floating and have to be tractored to go back in the ship.
I'd like to touch on the invulnerability thing for a second. Like, I know it's not supposed to be invulnerable, and it shouldn't be, right? That's just the state it's in now. They're still working on it, and fine, I have no problem with this. What I hope they do, because you know players are going to do it, we are going to start to see drop pod gameplay with the Atlas.
It's already
And
started.
I just hope that CIG takes a minute to look at this and kind of see how drop pod gameplay might work.
Yeah.
Like, make hay while the sun shines.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I took it and dropped it from 4.5K up, and received no damage, and it fell right. It came down right on his feet.
Yeah. I watched Astropub, and they literally had. You remember in Thor where he says, "I have been falling for 30 minutes," because Doctor Strange had him in that loop.
Exactly.
Right. So, and they did like it to 32 minutes from orbit, and it landed, and it was fine.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, we all know that's not gonna continue. We know that.
But there's no reason we can't observe it while it's here and learn from it a little.
Right. But when that comes to it, and we all know that's going to happen, where the military variants, they're going to be dropped, and that's where jets are going to soften the landing. We know that's eventually going to come.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
You're all right, dude. All right. Does the Atlas tractor beam gameplay mechanic differ from the handheld tractor beam device? And that's a big yes. Okay. We all know that the handhelds have been changed. The multi-tool tractor beam has been changed. The max lift has been changed dramatically compared to what it used to be. So you will see a big difference when you're using the Atlas. we all can, those of us that have it know for a fact that it does change a lot of things. Especially like we were saying earlier, that ship tractor beams are going to probably change as well because of what the Atlas can do now. So that is coming. Couldn't say when. Okay, the big question, and everybody has already done this already. Can I injure a player with the Atlas by hitting, ramming, or falling on them? Can I kill my enemies or hurt others by hurling cargo containers at them? And here it is. The Atlas does not move fast enough to cause damage. If you manage to fall on top of someone, it can be enough to kill them in normal gravity. However, this takes some doing, possibly involving a hovering ship and a lowered ramp. Hurling cargo containers at others is not advised. It can lead to any number of injuries or even death. So that was one of the questions.
Yeah.
And
A safe workplace is a happy workplace, people.
yeah, well, just saying. Can I attack someone with my FPS firearms? And we've already talked about this. You cannot pull a weapon in the Atlas. You can't do it. I've tried it just to see in the hangar if I can pull a weapon. No.
So what you're saying is 0 accidents since Dave left?
Not even get it going there, Tom. Really. Can several Atlas pilots team up and move heavier objects such as small spaceships? And this is the answer to that. Due to the nature of the new cargo loading tractor beam, combined efforts are not possible for moving cargo boxes. But targeting ships and vehicles will combine the force of multiple beams. So you can't do it. You can. I'm going to say this. Two Atlases loading a C2 to full capacity. Okay? One pulling from the cargo area or the freight elevator, and another transferring it to the inside the ship. When one person has it and another person has it, it causes an issue with the box. And it kind of messes it up. So if one person drops it like outside the ramp, the other person can grab it. But you have to disconnect the beam. I've seen that happen. Kind of crazy. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Because I would love to see the piggyback type of thing where one person has it, then another person hits their beam on it, and then the other person lets go, and then you can do your thing.
It's called handoff.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying the term.
Yeah.
But
thanks.
If, like for instance, when you hand it, if I'm throwing it at you, you grab it, a little icon pops up, says handoff, you press the button, and all of a sudden, there it is.
Okay.
Because if it's not a toggle, if you can't toggle handoff, if another person beams the box, it's automatically going to hand it off, and if you're trying to two-man a box, it won't work.
Right.
So this functionality, it would seem to me that you would need to be able to toggle handoff.
Okay. But, I mean, it's possible. It's just not in there yet.
Probable.
Yeah, probably. Okay. Does the suit count as a vehicle? Can I request an insurance claim at an ASOP if it is destroyed? Yes, you can. The Atlas can be retrieved at an ASOP terminal if abandoned or otherwise lost. In future iterations, when the Atlas is no longer vulnerable, Insurance claims will be possible for destroyed Atlas. When piloting an Atlas, can I use a passenger elevator, stroll through landing zones, or public transportation to leave spaceport? No. Nope. Not possible. Can I spawn my Atlas in a party member's hangar? Now, this was a good question, and doing so it is tied into allowing ground vehicles to be spawned via freight elevators. This is planned and being worked on, so as soon as it's working and released, you'll be able to spawn your Atlas in a party member's hangar. This is still in development, though, and doesn't have a release date. So they're talking about doing it through the freight elevators, which we all know that's what the freight elevator original function was supposed to be, but it's not there yet. Assuming the Atlas becomes important cargo haulers day-to-day life, and it is, I'm going to say that right now, it is very important. How do I transport from A to B if I don't have a vehicle with an onboard garage or an internal cargo area? Okay, answer. If the Atlas fits inside your ship, you can walk inside and exit, leaving it in your ship's interior. Otherwise, you'll need a larger ship.
I didn't understand this question because it was basically, if I don't have a ship that can move an Atlas, how do I move an Atlas? And that's kind of the same answer as everything else in Star Citizen, right? You either get someone to move it for you, or you just claim it at your destination.
Well, let's look deeper into that question. If you don't have a ship big enough to move an Atlas, do you really need it?
I don't think
Because
so.
you don't have a big enough ship to haul the freight you're going to need to lift with the Atlas.
Okay, but in-game purchases.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you get to that point, and the Atlas is not available in-game yet. So, this is where the big controversy is. There are a lot of people saying, well, the Atlas should be viable in-game right off the bat. And
It's pretty viable.
yeah.
I think that would be only if they made the tractor beam adjustments current to what they want to do, which is, where 2 multi-lifts would have to be used to pick up a 32. Once that is implemented, I believe it should be purchasable in game.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you said viable with a VI, but you were saying viable.
Turn up your hearing aids.
Well,
Yeah.
there were a lot of people saying that it should be viable in-game purchase, right off the bat, because there are a lot of people that don't have. I'm just going to say it. There are a lot of people that don't have the ships, especially beginners, that don't have the ships, and they've bought. They've progressed to larger ships that they've purchased in game. They don't have the access to this vehicle, to the Atlas yet. All they have is the multi-tool and the max lift. So there was a lot of Spectrum stuff going on about that. I mean, your guys' thoughts?
How many things has Spectrum released into the game, or Star Citizen, that were in-game purchasable from release?
Yeah, nothing.
None.
Like that's.
None.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, this is another thing. It's like, yeah, there's a hot new vehicle, and everybody wants it, and it's a good one. But it's, why would the rules not apply to this? The only argument I can think of is that, max lifts can no longer pick up 32 SU boxes. But if you're moving 32 SU boxes and you don't have an Atlas yet, I mean, just get a buddy, and with 2 max lifts you can move.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Well, no, hold on. That doesn't work right. That's right. That's bugged. The support feature in tractor beams is bugged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah. No, I can see the argument, because you're basically Like anybody who doesn't want to purchase an Atlas with real game money, but they want to be able to move 32 SCU boxes, which they should be able to do, can't do it. Not reliably anyway.
Right.
Well, you have to have.
I mean, you
being
can use
honest,
ship tractor beams and stuff, but
If you're moving 32 SCU crates in game right now, the way it's set up, you're doing pirate missions, and you're in space in a no gravity zone where a max lift should move them.
well, no, not necessarily. If you're moving 32 SCU boxes, you might just be hauling cargo at the highest level.
Right, but hauling cargo at the highest level, the way the game is set up, I don't know if they're giving you 32s or not.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Still
Yeah,
take
they
the
do.
AC off.
But either way,
They do.
whatever you're doing, like if you can't move 32 SCU boxes because the mass is too much, then you're being denied. Now, the game is unfinished, right? So sometimes some people might get their gameplay, might be denied gameplay in this unfinished state. And so I'm just saying that I understand why people think that they should have it. And I think what CIG should do is just like, we're giving you here's an Atlas until, well, no, that wouldn't work, because then the people who actually bought it, they would never get their exclusive time with it, the 3 months that you always need. So why not just, I mean, I guess what you could do is just like, if you need to move some boxes, just, hey, can anybody give me their Atlas? The claim is super quick and super fast, right? All we have to do is just I'd ask Shadow, hey, Shadow, can you spawn your Atlas for me? Sure, okay. And then I'm good, like, as long as I don't lose it. Ask people in chat. I understand the point they're coming from, though, and I sympathize. It does make sense.
Okay.
But there are easy ways to get around it, I think.
Okay.
Agreed, but I don't know if that's justified, as part of the gameplay.
Now, if they made it so you had no choice but use an Atlas right now to do certain game loops, period, then yes, I would be all with the they need to release it to open.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah. Whether it's justified, I mean, it's a work in progress. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not sure that justification really enters into the equation. If it was a finished product, even if the whole game wasn't finished, if this kind of, I don't know the word. If this was put out as a finished product,
Yeah.
then yeah, it would not be justified. You're correct. But-
Okay. Next question. Anybody got any more thoughts about that?
No, sir.
I mean, it's a hot thing,
Yeah.
but- okay. Can I lift the Atlas with a handheld tractor beam, ship tractor beam, or another Atlas? Yes, there are some known issues which are work in progress, but it is functioning.
Shadow,
Yeah, shoot.
I'm sorry. I would like to say one more thing on that last topic
Go ahead.
before you get too into the other one.
Go ahead.
I mean, whether it's justifiable or not, right? The longest we're going to have to deal with this situation is the longest on the outset is 6 months, right? Like, and probably only about 3 months.
No, it's a 90-day. It's 90 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Right. But but it's a patch cycle though, right? It's not going to go in the store right on the 90 days, but
Right.
on the first patch after that 90 days. So,
Right.
I don't think it'll be 6 months. It'll be around 3 months that we have to deal with this problem. And so it's not like it's a forever issue.
Right.
Like it's
not.
going to solve itself in 3 months. And
No, understood.
I don't think that that's unreasonable to ask the player base to deal with for something as trivial as this is, and something that's also as easily worked around. I get that that's my point of view, and a lot of people might not agree with that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, speaking of on that point, this game has the rare luxury of being one of the few games where you have time in game that goes on and on. Because most of the life of most MMOs is a year or two at best, and they fall off the map. So that in itself brings up rare opportunities for stuff to take time to be developed.
Okay.
Just that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, this game is the only game I've ever heard of that had lifetime insurance in game
Yeah.
because of the length of time this game is supposed to exist. Where I'll just use DAOC for instance. That was an awesome MMO back in the early 2000s. Now that game is pretty much dead, along with others.
Okay. Okay. So, any more thoughts on that specific thing? Because, like I say, it's lighting the spectrum on fire.
Yep.
Yeah, there's going to be controversy because there's multiple ways to consider it. Either, not saying any which way is right or wrong or any of that, but there's multiple ways to consider it, and it's just going to be a point of contention until it's
Release.
discussed further or resolved or released, whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, 3 months. Okay, there was one, the Vulture. Excuse me. The Vulture took a long, long time for it to drop in game. It didn't come into where you could purchase it in game until 320. And it came out in the unmentionable 318. So it took quite a bit of time for it to drop in game where you could purchase it. I don't think this one's going to have any like major issues where it's going to drop in a 3-month period. Star Trek Online has lifetime insurance. Yes, it does. And
I did not know that.
I did
Thank
play Star Trek Online. I haven't played it in a long time, but yes, it does.
That's cool. Thank you for that information.
But it just took a long time for the Vulture, and there was a lot of controversy about that as well. It just, when 320 hit and the whole sea dropped, that's when you could purchase the Vulture in game. So it took some time, but it did eventually drop. So I don't know, and I don't think anybody here knows that, but it's going to take time for it to come in game purchasable. So we're just going to have to wait on that one. Does the Atlas use batteries or fuel? How do you charge it? That's not in game yet. For its initial release, the Atlas does not require fuel batteries for its locomotion or tractor beam. We intend to have a replaceable battery using the resource network feature in a future iteration. Okay, so as we know, there's been a change in tractor beams to multi-tools and dedicated tractor beams. With the launch of the Atlas and its new tractor beam type, is the current balance for these tractor beams representative of the game moving forward, or do you have other changes planned? This is a long answer, and I think they hit on it pretty well. We have plans to address the balance further. The multi-tool and dedicated tractor beams were always meant to be the least powerful tractor beams in game to allow puzzle solving and small cargo movement and cooperative gameplay. However, there are some bugs with combined tractor beam strength. There's the thing about the handoff, as Tone put it. We would like to address before moving forward with the intended balancing. We also want to ensure that the full range of tractor beam types are available to ships. Here in the overview of the maximum size cargo crates we intend on each foot tractor beam to support in 24.1. Once improved functionality is introduced, times 2 beams being 2 players combining their tractor beams of matching size on the same target. Okay, so in 24.1 right now, max SCU for the multi-tool is 16. Future support cooperative beams, SCU 1 beam equals 8. Max SCU 2 beams equals 16. On foot dedicated tractor beams, 24.1, max SCU 32. Future support for cooperative beams, max SCU 1 beam equals 16. Max SCU 2 beams equals 32. Okay, on the Atlas, 24.1, SCU equals 32. Future support for cooperative beams, max SCU 1 equals 32. 2 beams not available. So it could go up to 64. We don't know. But they haven't gotten that functionality in yet. So the Atlas introduces a new type of tractor beam. Will ships be able to make use of it? Answer. In a future release, we intend to introduce additional ship tractor beams of existing size with the new functionality. This will allow players to customize their ship loadouts with the type of tractor beam they prefer to use. So there you have it. Different tractor beam modules. So a loadout, you can take one off and put a new one on. So yeah, and that's it for that. This was, there's a lot of controversy going on with the Atlas right now, but my personal feeling is the Atlas is a very, very viable tool in game, and eventually it will be purchasable with in-game credits.
Yes.
So just gotta wait for it to hit. Okay, next topic. We are running way over, but it is what it is. And
Are you providing lunch for this meeting, or
really,
Donuts
really,
or something?
you better go get some coffee.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
I could use a Whamburger.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
Whammers, that would be awesome. Okay.
Here.
Go to Power Bring Back Noodles.
That too. Okay, ships. What has changed in the roles of ships? We do have we have the CL, the Zeus EX coming, or ES coming. Okay, what ships are going? What's changed with these new ships that are coming? Personally, and we all know that I love the C1.
It's a great ship.
It's a great ship. I
Almost
love-
as much as you love the Tusk Black.
don't even start. Look, I love the C1. The C1 is one ship that I waited for, and I waited for it, and I waited for it. With this new ship that's coming out, we've seen the ISC. Tribunal, rest in peace, C1. Oh my God. Okay.
Right?
Not rest in peace, but anyway, with the CL, we know that it will hold 128 units of cargo compared to the 64 on the C1. The C1 was the competitor for the CB and the Freelancer Max. The CL surpasses that. So I consider, they still say that it is a medium freight ship. Okay.
Well, Well, look, we have no idea its final stats or how it's gonna, so how it's gonna respond in Atmo, how, its final SCM speed. So it's a hard comparison still, but right now, the way it looks, yeah, it's hard to pass up that CL.
Exactly. And I have an ES personally. The Zeus will take over the top spot when we get it. Well, okay. And Road Rash, say, I have already considered this, and it kind of hurts my heart. But really, Shane? Wow.
That's why I say just melt the.
No, don't even touch that one. Don't even touch that one. My C1.
One.
All right, Mr. Red.
Huh? I thought I was on mute. My bad.
My C1 is going towards the CL. The C1 is purchasable in game now. So I can still have my C1. Not a problem. I love the ship. It's a great ship. It is a daily driver. If I don't want to if I want to use it for rock mining, which I do a lot, I put my rock in the C1 and I go around and use it for that. I could use it in the MSR, but I prefer to use the C1 for that particular function. So I am going to get myself a Zeus CL. Does it change anything? I don't think it's going to change anything. Yeah, it has more cargo, but you guys' thoughts on the Zeus CL and the ES? We just want it, right?
Pretty much, yeah. There's not enough information for me to give a valued opinion, but yeah, just having it would be a nice place to start.
At its current stats, I cannot wait, especially with, some of the features it offers with the 2 entrance points,
Big point.
good habs,
Right.
Big
access to the components with the full load of cargo. Overstack your cargo, you still have access,
Okay,
So we'll see how it handles and its speed. And
massive point here. Massive point. The one thing I do love Crusader ships. That's my favorite manufacturer. But certain Crusader ships need more than one entrance. I love my MSR. Thunderstar is my one of my favorite ships. It needs another access point besides the rear cargo area. The C1, same thing. It needs another access point. The Zeus gives us that. The Zeus has the rear area, but it also has the ladder access, which makes it just more accessible in a lot of ways. Thoughts?
Well,
The ladder access is great. I've been thinking about the CL and the C1 comparatively. However they cut it, they've got to have situations where the C1 is better than the CL, than the Zeus CL, and vice versa. Like, we don't have a lot of information on how they work. We just
Okay. This is one point. The C1 is wider than
Yes.
the CL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The C1 has 8 engines. Okay. 8 engine nacelles. And it is a fast ship. It is a very fast ship with that. So I think compared to the CL has more thruster power as they stated in the ISC, because it's going to need that for the excess weight. The C1 will fly better in atmosphere? Yes, I agree with that.
I see a lot of people saying that, but I wonder why. Because that is the CL is a very aerodynamic ship. I mean, it is not like it is
would
not
say
clunky at all.
because
Yeah.
they have to counter it somehow. They can't just have a C1 out there that's. I mean, they could. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
completely useless as far as comparison goes, but it's gotta compete somehow, and I think they'll give it the speed and agility over the other.
Well,
and they might, right? But that doesn't mean it's strictly an atmosphere. Like I would think that it handles. If they're gonna do it, it would be the C1 just is faster and more nimble than the Zeus CL, whether you're in atmosphere or not.
okay.
Sure,
Um,
I can go with that.
Wolf says that the C1 will fly better in atmosphere, which it does. He says that comes directly from John Crew. So,
I mean, it
go
will
ahead.
have
Go ahead.
an extension of wings compared to the CL. The CL is just one flying wing, I guess you could say, but the wings are supposed to give you some sort of a benefit in atmosphere, as you would expect to what we see here currently.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't even gotten the ship in our hands, you know what I'm saying? So, I can't make a total comparison of the two until I get one against the other. And
So I guess the short version of all this is we've got no idea.
Yeah.
Not really.
in
Pretty much.
some aspects, we have no idea until we get the ship in our hands. A role change in exploration. Okay, we've got the ES coming. The ES is an explorer, in some ways a pathfinder. How do you see? I mean, we look at the Terrapin. The Terrapin is a great ship. It has a lot of armor and things like that for the size. There's no cargo space on that ship at all. It only houses one crew member. That ship needs a rework. Big time.
I am very interested in this particular topic. The Terrapin does need a rework. Yes, I don't see the fact that it only houses one crew member as a bad thing, right? It is someone who's in-game, whose desired gameplay is like the lone explorer going out and finding new places and maybe selling that data. That's how I want to play the game, at least at first. That's what I'm interested in.
Right.
I'm very interested in, am I going to have a Terrapin? Because that seems to suit me the best. It's going to have some great scanners, good armor. But at the same time, it's like, is the Zeus CL or is the Zeus ES going to be easy enough to run solo that it would be my end game ship?
Your daily.
My end game ship as an explorer is not going to be a Carrack because that's a multi-crew explorer and that's not what I'm after. Is my end game ship, I'm going to start off with a cutter variant of some sort, depending on the scanners, but my end game ship, is that going to be a Terrapin or is that going to be a Zeus CS, and why? Right?
Okay.
I want to know. I want to get the ZS with its scanning functionality. Like later on, that's going to be very important in my hands, and decide what is my goal ship going to be.
Okay.
Well, then those are maybe two different ships, even
I'll
as
be
far
right
as
back. Go
functionality
ahead.
goes.
Yeah, the Zeus ES might not be near as good scanning
say maybe-
wise and explorer as the Terrapin. We don't know.
Right.
Something else that you got to look at too. What type of exploration loops will be in game? Will it be just the procedurally generated planets that tend to happen like in other star systems where it's the same planet, different colors, the animals look vaguely different, but they're the same? Or is it going to be, this is a whole new system, nobody's been here, you're the first?
There's going to be a mix of that. Like we know that. Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're going to see new discoverable systems for a very, very long time. But eventually,
no, that's
yes.
Years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
we do have some
Pyro's
comments.
coming, so
Yeah. 1 second. That I want to touch on. We got some comments. Tribunal says the cockpit visibility of Zeus looks amazing. Wolf says Zeus has better scanning suite, perfect for carrying a rock for mining. That it does. The Cutter Scout will be a good ship once we get advanced scanning. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
The Terrapin is the king of scanning. What is with its military components? Good point. I'm going to say this. I'm going to have a Terrapin on my Polaris. The reason why, because when we venture into Pyro, okay, that ship has the shielding of a tank, and the if I'm correct, it has protection against the radiation. So I would just love to see the Terrapin get a little bit more love to it, and I would like a variant that has more seating as a drop ship, more than an Explorer or a shuttle ship. That's what I would like to see, but it is what it is. Go ahead.
And that's the fun part, is like all these ships everybody is talking about, they're all good at these things, I'm sure, in one aspect or another. None of them are the same ship, so it's going to be fun to choose, what suits somebody for one thing versus another, or you kind of got to fit a ship to a role to the best of your ability, and it'll be fun to see which ones come out on top, or maybe they're all equal, but we'll see.
Right. Ty, you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, concerning what they were saying about the scouts being a good, having a good scanner suite. Like the Cutter Scout is what I'm eyeing for my starter ship. Like right now, my only pledge ship is a Cutter. The only reason I haven't upgraded to the Scout yet is because we haven't got scanning gameplay in our hands, and I haven't been able to try it out. And I'm not going to pay money this early in the game. But yeah, the Cutter Scout is what I'm looking at. As far as what the scan functionality is going to be, someone said that the Zeus ES scanner suite, I think one of the comments is going to be better than the others, and that's true. But that's not the only factor, right? Like between the Zeus and the Terrapin, is it going to be easier for one person to run a Terrapin, even though the Zeus scanner might be a little bit better than the Terrapin?
Well, it's a multi-crewed ship. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly, right? So what is the difference, and what's actually going to be worth it? Do I sacrifice a little bit of scanning capability for the fact that I can actually operate the ship quicker and easier? So it's going to depend a lot on the difference, how much of a difference there is between those two things. And also then there's the combat considerations that you have to figure in. Even though I plan on being one of those explorers, it's like if I come under attack, my goal is to get out. I'm not going to try and take on a fighter or a combat ship in an exploration vessel. But you still need to be able to get away. There's so many factors as to what is going to be the best ship. It's going to be like everybody's going to have a different answer, and they're all going to be right for that person.
Right, exactly.
Oh, you're bringing up an important point there. You're exploring, which means there's no stations there. You have to have fuel production capacity.
Yeah, there's another. Yeah. How long legs does the ship have?
Yep.
Right?
Because if your fuel point is literally 100, pick 100, I'll just use 100 gigameters, then you're really not going to go far.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the specs for the Terrapin. Okay, on screen. Give me a moment. All right. So, the Terrapin we know is flight ready at this point. So, specifications for the ship: cargo capacity is 0, and minimum crew is 1, max crew is 1. It's small, outfitted with long-range scanners and encased in heavy armor and oversized shields. The Terrapin can face potentially hazardous circumstances with confidence, making it an ultimate combat scout and reconnaissance vehicle, at least according to Anvil. Okay? We know that the Terrapin is a very tanky ship, and a lot of people use it for a drop ship at this point.
Well, the reason being is at this point that's the only real game loop.
Exactly. So I'm going to go back a little bit, and I'm going to bring up the and I'm going to bring up the Zeus. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm going to bring up the Zeus ES. The Zeus is a better option because it's designed for civilian use. The Terrapin is made to operate with a fleet capacity. That's a good point. Because go ahead.
Yeah, we say all things that this is a better option, this is a better option. The truth is, we don't know. We don't know.
Right.
Well, and I think it comes down to an individual's creative use of the ship, you know, and what their plans are for it too.
Yeah, this is a sandbox. You have to make the best of what you got.
Okay, so specifications on the Zeus Mark II ES. Okay. Minimum crew of 1, max crew of 3, size medium. Okay. And the hard points on the ship: maneuvering thrusters, main thrusters, okay. Power plants, 2 medium. Shield generators, 4 medium. 2 medium-sized coolers, okay. 4 weapons, size 2. Turrets, 2, size 3. Missiles, 4, size 4. Quantum drive is a medium. Fuel tanks are large. Fuel intakes, 2 medium. Now, if the ES can produce its own hydrogen fuel or refueling scoop, that's a plus. Just saying. And the quantum fuel tanks are large. The jump modules are medium, and the quantum drive is medium. Okay. So I'm gonna bring up something else. I'm gonna bring up the CL. What is the CL? CL would be transport. If I'm correct. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. There it is. Okay, CL, medium freight. And with this, the weapons on it: 2 size 4, 2 size 3 turrets, size 4 missiles. Okay, jump module on the CL is stating to be determined. Medium fuel tanks, medium quantum drive, 3 medium shields, 2 medium coolers, 2 medium power plants on that. So there are differences between the ES and the CL, and it's all your personal preference. Which ship is going to benefit you at this point? Cargo haulers are going to be very happy with the CO because of the 128. The explorers and the ones that just move around, do stuff, take vehicles, check out things using the rocks to mine and things like that are going to love the ES. I mean, it's all your personal preference. And as this question was saying, what roles have changed on certain ships now that newer ones are coming out?
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, after you, please.
Oh, no. Go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say that some of these ships even work in conjunction with ships quite well. But like the Terrapin, it doesn't fit on the Karak, does it?
No. It can't go into
Well, at least-
the top bay.
So if we put it into the Polaris, at least you'll have expanded that ship's capabilities. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with this.
Because, okay, when we go to Pyro, I would personally take the ES into Pyro to explore, and then bring the Polaris in afterwards. As you know, the ES is going to be the scout, and then here comes the Polaris, and then then we bring in the other ships, the cargo or the mining and all like that. I mean, that's how I see it. That's how it's envisioned in my head.
It's a better way to plan things. Yeah.
So, Ty, and even with a cutter scout going in with the larger fleet instead of the spearhead, I think the scout would be a better asset with a fleet than just by itself. That's my thought.
To be fair, almost every ship in this game is better off with a fleet than by itself.
Yeah, well, true.
Okay.
I'm not really sure where to go. Exploration is going to be largely dependent on whatever your maximum, what's going to be your supply bottleneck? Is it going to be quantum fuel? Is it going to be hydrogen fuel? Is it going to be food and water? Right? So, I mean, comparing
supply, maybe it's scanning, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, how many cubic, how many parsecs? Let's use parsec. That's a cubic measurement. No, it's not. It's linear.
That's a time measurement.
No, it's not. A parsec is distance, linear distance.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
Anyway,
go ahead.
But how many cubic kilometers can I scan effectively, per day, right? And that's going to be limited by how fast I can travel and how far I can travel before needing resupply, and how ready supplies are, right? In Pyro, if I can go through the entire system and always have a way to be supplied in a Terrapin, then because there's a station or a place nearby where I can get the basic essentials, then I might not need all of that extra storage for supplies that the Zeus CL provides. However, if I can't, I might be happy to take the Zeus CL because I can put extra boxes of food and water and stuff. And what, the Terrapin also doesn't have hygiene, right? It doesn't have a shower,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
that's going to be a thing,
Yeah.
right? We don't know what effects that's going to have. So it comes down to what is the maximum amount of time that you can go someplace.
Okay. Coming
Like
from
How long
from
can
the
you stay out?
yeah, from the chat.
And
From the chat, real quick. Sorry. Wolf
no, dude.
Wolf says, I have both. I plan on building an outpost across the different systems. Just looking at the fleet viewer, the Zeus is twice the size of a Terrapin. Zeus is 46 meters and the Terrapin is 19.5. Yes.
Yes.
And Tribunal says the Terrapin has a shower and toilet.
Does it? Okay.
Next
I
to
didn't realize
next
it
to
had
the
a
bed.
shower.
Well,
Okay.
nobody spends really a whole lot of time in that ship. They use it for a drop ship. You know?
All right.
Go ahead, Tom.
I wanted to thank him for correcting me because I just looked it up. He is correct. That is a length of measurement of 3.6 light years is a parsec. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about Star Wars is they had to explain in Solo what he meant by he did the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. For years, that was a thing. Like, parsecs is a measurement of distance, not time. What's he talking about?
Okay.
Of course,
cool.
in Solo, they cleared that up. But yeah.
I don't mind learning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But there's something we're dancing around, but we're not really hitting on it. All right.
Okay, go
How
for
often do you go into a cave and fall and die?
Never. I stay out of caves. Although
It
if they
dep-
make caves more interesting,
It
I might
depends.
do it. Yeah.
But
Go-
if you're exploring and you see this and you want to go look at it and you inadvertently get dead, you need a respawn point in your exploration ship so you don't lose everything.
You have a
Yeah,
very
that's a good
valid point.
Yeah.
You have a very valid point. And that is where the Terrapin is lacking. Big time.
There's also the idea, right? I mean, that add into the fact that things are going to persist later on. Like right now, if you want to respawn, like you want to respawn. That's why people are putting a Nursa in their Carracks, not in their Carracks, but in their ships that don't have a bed, because they want a mobile respawn point, right? And the Zeus doesn't have that. So I guess what you're saying is the Zeus might have a big advantage because you can park a Nursa in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's a valid point. But how much of an advantage is that really going to be in the future? And that's a genuine question. I'm just wanting to bring it up because in the future, it's like if let's say I'm out in the depths of Pyro, deep space somewhere, right? And maybe I've landed in a cave and I died. My ship's not blown up, it's not destroyed, but I have died. Well, the reason I want a respawn point now is because that's really the only way I can get back to my ship, get all my stuff, take off. But if I had set my respawn point to a nearby space station within a reasonable distance, let's say 30-minute travel time, I think would be reasonable on a maximum end. I could, as long as I had kept a bit of savings, I could rent a ship, or hitch a ride, right? Just pay someone I trust to take me back out and get my stuff. It's a little bit more inconvenient, but it also doesn't require me to have a medical bed for a situation that's, I wouldn't say is going to happen to me every day, right? That's a kind of a specific situation where, I mean, if I'm dying all the time, something's wrong with the game.
Okay. Quick from the chat. Wolf, I don't think the Nursa is going to fit in the Zeus because of the width of the wheelbase. You would have to take the wheels off the same way to get into the C1. I think the CL is a bigger bay, but then you lose your cargo if you're carrying around a vehicle.
And you know what? Maybe it won't fit. We don't know.
We don't know.
Not for sure. But that what I was saying kind of translates to different ships as well.
Okay, in Billy's Brew, for me, it's the Reliant Mako. It was the first ship I bought in game as a noob because I thought its functionality was in the game. You're right. The Mako was supposed to be the newscaster in the game, and it doesn't have its functionality, but it's out there. Then it would be cool to sneak in and transmit video or data to a herald who then runs it across the verse. Okay, here comes the thing with the data runners.
Yeah.
Okay, MSR versus the herald. The herald doesn't have a whole lot of cargo space. It is basically just a data runner. That's it.
It's a rocket server.
That's
Pretty much.
It's a rocket sled. Okay.
It's a fiber optic cable.
It is nothing but a rocket sled. That ship is majorly fast in a straight line. Where the MSR has multi-functions. Okay? You can carry a vehicle, you can carry cargo, and still have its data running capabilities once that comes in the game. When that comes in the game, the MSR is going to have full functionality. Okay? The Herald, when it gets the data running, it's going to have its functionality. So as time has gone on, we know that ships have been improved, changed, or whatever. They just added more to certain ships, so it has its multi-role function. And that's one thing I love about the MSR. Okay. Also, Tribunal, we definitely need a medical tier 2 bed. A tier 2, well, that's coming. Tier 2s are coming in the capital ships.
And Apollo.
Well, the Apollo can, once it comes, it can change the modules and make it a tier 1. Tier 1 medical.
But when you bring in capital sized ships, that brings in, a vessel that doesn't get talked about is that C8X.
Mm-hmm.
Because that could be an excellent exploration ship, combined with its home base unit being the Carrack.
Well,
The poor C8. Like everything the C8 does, the C8X does better.
okay, Anvil Carrack in all the way with NPC crew. Yeah. I think most people are overlooking that a ship's cargo capacity is directly created to its grid. If it's not on a grid, storage locker is free to fly around inside the ship. Right now, you can wedge hover bikes, etc. into anything. You can stack crates, etc. without limit. That's true. That's very true. I just, my personal thought. Sorry, man. I meant tier 2 medical gameplay.
It's so weird.
Not dying all the time. Diseases, amputation, etc.
Star
Okay.
Citizen just went down.
Did it?
I'm in it right now.
Mine crashed the desktop and it's not letting me back in through the server. But they could be doing work on the something between here and there too.
Could be. So they are planning on doing the same thing in game. I mean, there's so much controversy. There's so many different things that we haven't touched upon that we may eventually, get back to. That they're putting one thing on hold while they're working on something else. There's a lot of things that make the game interesting, and then it can be a little rough on the brain because a lot of the times you've got to do something with crazy steps to get to a specific goal. Shade and I have gone through, and Red and I have gone through it, and, you know, Ty and, you know, Tone, he dropped off real quick. He's probably coming back in. We've all done it. I mean, there he is. Mr. Red, go ahead and say what you got to say.
The game of workarounds, baby.
I've said it before that Star Citizen, the big secret of Star Citizen is not that it's a space game, not that it's a space life sim. It is, in fact, a puzzle game, and it is released. It's in full release.
It's in full release as well.
It's in as a puzzle game, and it's secretly a full release puzzle game, and all these patches are just DLCs that keep the puzzles fresh.
Yeah, and right now the major puzzle is Tetris.
With the cargo, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it all depends on your outlook and how you feel about it. Like I say, I love the Mercury Star One. That is one of my premier ships that I fly all the time. And eventually that ship it's going to become obsolete as time goes on because newer versions of other ships are coming.
Well, it just needs a good refresh.
Well, the Star Runner needs an extra entrance. It does.
Can we change the term refresh to update?
Well, update, rework, yeah.
Yeah. Because refresh sounds, it conveys a sense of paint the inside of this room, make it look better, but don't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Hey, Everett, how you doing? Everett, if you want to jump in here, you're more than welcome. Okay, so the next ship, I'm running way over. I apologize. There's another ship that we all know that is basically doesn't have a function, and that is the 890 jump. What do you guys think of the 890 jump? Will it have some type of use when the other systems come into the game?
Yes. VIP transport.
Okay.
We're going to have, I mean, if you're talking about just beyond the fact that it is a luxury tour and there are going to be people that just want to fly in that ship, even if they're not flying themselves, there are going to be people that want to just fly in that ship around this universe that CIG has created and just experience it in a luxury fashion. You know, there will be people that do that. But remember that we are eventually, nobody's talked about it for a long time, but there's a whole ship dedicated to personnel to just civilian commercial transport. That's the Genesis Starliner. Right, and then you've got things like the Constellation Phoenix and the 890 Jump fall into that same category, but in the realm of VIP transport. So you're going to be able to log your ship in at a place like New Babbage and, you know, take on NPC passengers that need to get to, say, Terra, right? Well, maybe not Terra because there's a direct jump point, but even through someplace like through Pyro, and maybe it's a quick, easy trip. Maybe it's a long, perilous trip because you have to go through some outlaw systems. So there you are, responsible to get these people. You know, you're going to have either have player gunners or NPC gunners, and maybe hire some escorts as well, right? And your job is to get these people from point A to point B, and because they are VIPs and rich, and they are going to pay top dollar for that, not just to be transported, but transported in style.
Okay.
I completely concur on those points.
Okay.
That ship.
Okay. There is a ship that came out. It is still in concept. The E1. I have that ship. That ship is going to be my executive transport ship. And I can't wait to see it, but I put it in buybacks until it comes to fruition. They have not said anything about the E1 for almost 2 years. None.
Well, do the people that were working on it even work at CIG anymore?
The E1?
Yeah.
The E1 is based on the C1. The
Yeah, it's the same.
It's been constructed already.
It's in that family, yeah.
Yeah, the inside of the ship and the game loop has not been created. They haven't said anything about the inside of it or anything like that because it's a multi-deck ship and it has different. It's the inside of the ship is totally different from the A1 and the C1. So,
Hey everyone.
Hey
Howdy.
Everett, welcome.
Thank you.
And from the chat, we've got the Star Worker needs an Anvil Hoxie. Okay, Everett. And then we've got, let's see, we got Billy's Brew. I think it will be a good VIP transport ship. Well, for long distance, yes, the 890 jump is created for that purpose. It's just right now, there's really no. It's really a ship that's just to bounce around and have a party with, and you know, at this point, there's really no purpose for that ship until we get other systems. That's my thought. I have one for big parties when we hold parties on it, but you know, it was an in-game ship that I bought. Let's see, another one.
And the
First
E1
rules-
falls.
First,
The E1 falls in that same category. It is an executive transport.
the A1
E1.
or the E1, yeah, it's an executive transport. But like I say, they have not. It has the same body frame as the C1 and the A1. It's just the inside and the game loop is not there. So that's why it's
Yeah.
not in game.
Yeah, I don't see them dedicating resources to finishing that ship until they're closer to finishing that gameplay.
Exactly. Let's see. Okay, the Spirit ES will come online next year, which would give the 890 jump the VIP gameplay it deserves. Okay, kind of like the Endeavor. I think the Spirit E1 and the Zeus ST will be the same. And then the first rule of Star Citizen, we don't discuss the Endeavor. Ooh. Okay. Billy's Brew.
I'm gonna have to disagree right there. The first rule of Star Citizen is you don't talk about the server.
Okay. Works for me.
That's rule 1 and 2. You don't talk about the server.
Billy's
But
Brew.
yeah,
Keyboard.
No, I did not. Not sure what happened, but it never rewarded me, so I have to try again. Oh, we're gonna have to help you out with that, Billy's Brew. I thought for sure that you would. Oh, you got kicked out like I did, so we have to do that again on the Pirate Swarm. So we'll hook you up. No worries. Okay, and that's pretty much good for the chat. You're welcome, Billy's Brew. We'll get that straightened away for you so you can get that. Any other ships that you feel right now? Oh, the Carrack. Without its modularity, the Carrack, people are not happy with that because they can't load the new cargo on it, the new cargo refactor with it, because it doesn't have the modularity for opening up the doors so you can put the cargo in it.
yeah, the cargo pods don't work. That's a big deal.
That's a big thing. The BMM comes up every now and then. It slipped into the void long ago. The BMM, that's a rough subject on that one because it was so close, and then all of a sudden everything stopped on it until they start working on it and they say something about it again. Hopefully we'll hear something about it at CitizenCon. I don't know. But anybody, Everett, you got any thoughts about a ship that you feel that needs, that the role has changed and from when you started? I mean, you're pretty much the senior of SC at this point. He might have stepped away. Old school. Freelancers need help. Cracking before BMM, I think.
Redeemer.
Let's see. Oh, the Redeemer. A lot of people are not happy with the Redeemer right at this point. They took away some of the teeth. Freelancers need help. Hello, Old School Online. The freelancers need help because they're supposed to be reworked. There's a rework coming on the freelancers. I don't know wherever it is, but okay. So the old yellow, my Redeemer. The Redeemer better fly like an arrow now. Oh yeah. I don't see anything going on in BMM until after 4.0. Good point. Good point. That's a capital ship. And that's a lot of cargo that ship holds. And it's definitely a ship that definitely needs server meshing because of the size and the crew. Off topic. But I need that one solo mining and salvage. You can come into the chat, Billy's Brew, and we'll talk about that. Anything in the works for Connie's? No crew, storage, etc. The Constellation was supposed to be reworked as far as like the cockpit, the view screen, stuff like that. They're supposed to get blast shields, I believe. That's
maybe we'll see something with this full year of RSI, development. We'll see something hopeful.
I mean, I doubt it with the Connie. They have told us the things that they have planned to do, which is increase the visibility, add in crew storage, all the stuff that's, well known to be wrong with it. But they haven't said anything about its progress. I haven't seen anything about that stuff actually being in production. I don't think the Connie is just a priority for them right now. Whether that's right or wrong, that's for everybody to decide, but that's, as far as I know, it's just not in production. It's not a priority.
In the ISC, they did state that RSI is going to be the main push for the year.
But yes, but they are building the Polaris, and that is, basically everybody they have working on RSI stuff is on the Polaris.
I would be confident in saying that that's done, and they're working on other things. But
it's
wrong.
It's still being polished. It is a lot of polish that needs to be done. What was the progress report? The last progress report that mentioned it.
It's in its last section.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if after the Polaris is done that they did shift that, the Polaris and the Zeus, I guess the Zeus is done because they're about to release it. But that's where anybody who's been working on anything RSI has been working on those two ships.
Well, Turbulent.
So after that, we're probably going to see a lot of that RSI work trickle back to things like the Connie and the Aurora. But until, and maybe even the Scorpius, I don't know. But until then, until those ships are done and out, I don't think we're going to see any progress.
Well, the Zeus, They said they put a full year into the Zeus, and that was
Yeah.
the Montreal team, because they did the cutters, and from what I'm seeing on that ISC, the progress on the Zeus, it's going to be an amazing ship, and they're knocking stuff out of the park as it is. So we'll see when it drops. I personally believe that these ships are all done, and marketing is holding them back just for certain sales.
There's absolutely no evidence of anything like that.
We don't know. They now have more than one modeling team now that the Montreal team on board from Squadron 42. True. They keep doing wink, wink, nudge, nudge about RSI, but it feels like they're busy pushing new RSI ships, etc. New hotness or not, old busted. That's a good point.
Well, they made their intentions clear about that over a year ago, right? They knew that people wanted to start getting into their big ships. They knew that this was, like, they knew what the people wanted, right? So they started, and they actually asked the community, I think, and got feedback on whether they should kind of work on a bunch of different things in smaller groups or just kind of focus on a specific type of manufacturer. The idea being that once you have the design language and you're developing the assets for that manufacturer on a large scale, then that would translate to better efficiency later down the road for other ships and things on the small scale. So this isn't a new thing. They made their intentions known a long time ago that they were going to focus on the big RSI Polaris and then use what they learn and build from that to improve all of the other ships later on down the road.
Well,
so
go ahead. Go ahead.
So I mean, they are so far on track with what they have said that they were going to do since CitizenCon 2 years ago. No, not 2. Yeah, 2 years ago, the 2022 CitizenCon that was streamed online. That's, you know, so they made their intentions known, and with regard to the RSI ships, they have followed through on that intention.
Well, okay. The Galaxy was introduced 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. As a concept, yes.
Yeah. So now that the Polaris is close to completion, they're going to take assets from what they've done with the Polaris and put them in the Galaxy and the P word, the Perseus, to get them out. Okay? I'm just going to say. True, but where's the progress on the Galaxy and the Perseus?
There's been none, because it's all been on the Polaris and the Zeus, right? Those are monster ships, and they take a monster amount of manpower, a monster amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, the Zeus isn't a huge ship, but the Polaris is, right? So no, there has been no progress on things like the Galaxy, or what was that other one?
The Perseus. That we
The
know
Perseus.
of. That we know of.
Right, except in the idea that the progress that has been made on the Polaris and the Zeus will be beneficial once those ships go into active production. They'll have a lot of work that can just carry over.
Okay.
So, well, that's the whole idea behind, you know, committing to one manufacturer for a long time.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at the Polaris specs. Okay.
Now, whether you think that's going to actually work out the way they say it's going to work out is, you know, that's speculation, and everybody's going to come to their own conclusion on that. But
Well,
so
which-
far, they have followed through with the intentions that they stated.
We can only take them at their word at this point.
Right.
But speculation is just going to be that. Like, people, I mean, we can, you know, him and Han, who knows what they really got going on? Only they do, but maybe you'd like to believe that they're moving faster than they are when they're pushing out other ships that haven't been talked about and so on.
Right. Billy's Brew, welcome.
Hey, everyone.
So, this is from the chat. And this is Tribunal. I believe it was said that the Galaxy would be worked on after the Polaris is done. Yes. And then the Perseus after that. So CIG say. That's correct. I remember them distinctly saying that the Polaris #1, Galaxy 2, and then the Perseus 3. We have no idea what is happening in the background, and they won't talk about it until they have something to show. White box, gray box finish. That's true.
Well, that's not true. We do have quite a bit an idea of what has been happening in the. We don't know everything. I'm not going to try and say that we do, but the monthly reports, if you read them, they tell you a lot of what is going on in the background with not just the ship stuff, but also the all of the features, the back end tech. As long as you're not saying that CIG is just going to lie and say whatever they want, like as long as you don't assume bad intentions on their part, and you can take the monthly reports as an honest declaration of their intentions and what they've accomplished so far, then yeah, we do have an idea of what's going on in the background. We don't know everything, but to say we know nothing isn't true.
Yeah.
And we don't have to take them at their word on a lot of things because they do show their work on a lot of things.
I agree, because there's some things that they do, and they stated in the monthly reports that we're working on an unnamed vehicle or whatever, or ship. They do state that's being done. That's what I'm saying. We can't assume they are lying. Exactly. I will never ever say that CID is lying about something, because they've been very open and forefront with the monthly reports, and now that they've got the progress tracker updated, so we can actually see what they're saying and what they're working on. So what they're letting us know is out there.
I would
Okay?
say there's a lot going on. So I'm a rather new player, less than a year, and both the Pulse and the A.T.L.S both kind of dropped out of the blue. They weren't really on a tracker, or they weren't announced ahead of time, at least not. Whereas these capital ships are a little bit different. They're kind of planned. So I guess my question is, have they ever just released a large ship, or is it mostly the smaller ships that they kind of drop?
No, I don't think they've ever. By large ship, what are you talking about? What's your minimum size on that large ship? Are you talking C1 or small? Capital. Well, they've never dropped a capital ship, period. I guess the 890 jump.
Reclaimer comes the closest, actually.
Yeah, and I don't see them doing it because the big ships, that's not the type of thing. They could do it if they wanted to. I'm not saying they can't, but from a marketing perspective, even an ethical marketing perspective, if you want to put those two words together at any point, you would want to tell people this is what we're looking at. You would want to spend at least some time building hype for something like that, right?
Based on the price of the ship and everything, right? But
yeah, because you even if people don't buy the ship, that might get them into looking at the game. They could. It wouldn't make any sense that I can see for them to do it, because you would waste all of that time building the hype. And even if marketing was real, which we know they're not, but even the most ethical marketing team in the world would want to market that they were working on it.
Okay, from the chat, they have some creatures they're also planning to surprise drops with. Yeah. I mean, in the monthly reports, we've seen a lot of things where they say, this is being worked on an unnamed vehicle and all like that I've said before. And they also just drop something with no warning whatsoever, not saying anything, and they've dropped something, and it was good, don't get me wrong. Now, They did state that the Peregrine, the racing variant,
Penguin?
the Peregrine,
The
the
bat
ra-
penguin.
yeah, the racing variant of the Saber was leaked, you know, through the sneak peek. So we knew it was coming. We didn't know exactly if it was going to be an interdictor or a racing ship. And it turns out it was just a racing ship. No weapons, just full out speed. And that's all it's for, is racing. Imagine running into the Microtech Yeti for the first time. Oh boy. Go ahead, Shay. I know you're thinking back there, back of say the Microtech Yeti, but I mean,
After Shape, remind me, I do have a point I'd want to make.
no, go ahead, because Shave hasn't said anything.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I mentioned the monthly reports earlier, and most players would be like, I don't have time for all that, and they'd be right? Most players don't have time for all that, but I would encourage you, if you can, right, you don't have to read it and understand it yourself. Like, you can go to somebody like Shadow here, Space Tomato is another great resource, someone who has a history of watching this development, so they understand what is actually being said, how that relates to what has gone on before, and then you don't have to worry about, doing the deep dive yourself. You've got someone who has the experience and the time to do it for you and lay it out. Just be careful who it is. I recommend Shadow and Space Tomato. They've got proven track records, but
I do try to, when I stream, especially before I start, I try to go over what's happened that day. If it's been kind of light, I'll just say, hey, there's not a whole lot of Star Citizen news going on right now, but I try to go through the monthly report. I've read them, and I point out certain points that I know that people are really interested in, the ships, some of the AI, and things of that nature. That's what I really look for when I, before I stream. And that's what the Snowbirds meeting room is about. I created it just for SC news and things of that nature, so I could talk to people and stuff like that. And I do throw some gameplay on here, when there's something hot. It just depends on what's going on, but mostly this is for discussion of SC. Welcome back, Everett. No, I don't live in Florida.
it's one of the best things about this community is that where CIG's communication drops the ball, which they do, and to be honest, they could do a lot better, but they could never cover everything. Like they would spend as much time educating people as they would actually making the game. It's not feasible. But the community resources for people to get dialed in on what's going on if they're interested is phenomenal. There's tons of stuff out there.
Yeah, agreed. Tone, I know
Yes.
you've got something on your mind.
Actually, I'm enjoying the conversation. It's intelligent for a change.
Well,
Hey,
add to it. Add to it.
We've been in the realm of speculation for the most part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
For the realistic player that's just starting, Billings Brew is a good point. What can he do now to better his experience?
Okay.
just have an infinite well of patience.
Yes.
Right? The best thing you can do is when the game starts to aggravate you, just find something else to do.
Beat a tree down with a ball bat, or
Yeah, I mean,
cut up the car with a hacksaw or something.
yeah, just go out, touch grass, grab,
That
grab a
hard
beer,
ball in
watch
the
a
sky.
TV show. Yeah, it's only a game. It's an unfinished game at that. Whether it should be further along and how far it should be along is a completely different argument that we could have for hours. But the fact is, it is frustrating and crazy, and just be mindful of yourself and how the game is making you feel. And if you're not having fun, find something that is going to be
This
fun for
game-
you. And yeah,
This game is not tailored for everybody.
yeah. And then come back
Yeah, I
when
could
you're
kind of
in the
comment
mood.
on that too. Like, as the new player that got frustrated, I started and then couldn't even leave the spaceport. So then I just quit for about a month and then came back. But I'm also kind of, a nerdy type person, so I like to try and figure out what went wrong, and that's where Star Citizen is pretty cool because you can get into Spectrum and certain testing channels and whatnot. You can get into the PTU and you can dive into that and you can submit bug reports. So if you do want to continue to help Star Citizen and you're frustrated with it, those are things that you can do that I've found that helped me out to kind of make my experience better in the live too, because I know what not to do. Oh, I've had these problems, or I know these workarounds. So all of that too.
That's one thing I love about the PTU. Whenever it drops, I get in there, see what I can work on, how to do things in a different way, and stuff like that. It makes a big difference because, okay, this is what I'm not going to do when this drops. You know what I mean?
Another huge thing, another big thing. That was my number 2. Was just be patient and take care of yourself first. My number 1 is don't spend money on this game. Like not vast amounts. If you want to get into it, get your starter pack or whatever, but don't spend money on this game because that's where people get so angry because they will buy a concept and then that concept doesn't turn out a concept literally has to be filled in still by the game developers over the course of time in the gameplay, but people will fill all of that in an instant in their heads and then buy what's in their head. And then they get so mad because they spent all this money. And I'm not putting the blame on the player necessarily here. This is just the chain of events that happens, right? Then they get so angry because they spent all this money on what they thought they were getting, and then they don't get that thing. So it's if once your gameplay loop comes in, I put myself as a perfect example. The Cutter Scout is only a $5 upgrade for me. And the concept of it sounds like it is going to be my perfect exploration starter ship. Right? So everything points to the fact that that's where I want to go. But I am not going to pay even that little $5 for that upgrade until I have got the ship in my hands. It is flyable, the scanning gameplay is in, and we know how that's going to work. So that I know exactly what I'm going to buy. That is my number 1 thing for anybody. Don't spend money on this game until you have actually tested exactly what you're buying.
Well,
on that point,
go ahead.
And I'm an experienced years long player. I have an Aurora, a Vulture, and an Atlas. Those are all my personal purchases, period. Everything else I have bought in game. That way, when we have a clean wipe, I have a way to make money.
Yes. And me being almost 3 years, I get certain ships that I know that will build my capital when we get away.
Yep, and it happens.
And there may be a time, and we don't know, and I'm not gonna say that we're going to get a full wipe for 4.0 because I have no idea. We don't know what they're going to do. But if it does come, I do have the ships that I need to make my money. Go ahead.
I've just got the Cutter, and that's all I need.
Yeah. But I mean,
I like my Cutter. It's a scrapper.
there you go, Everett. It all depends on what you want. If you want, and I I've always said when I first started playing this and I first started streaming that if you get into this game, you will get frustrated. You will get upset. You will
Yep.
have issues. You got to have a thick skin. If you need to step away, walk away. Don't get so frustrated that you're going to pull your hair out. I'm going to say
Something
this.
else.
The stability that has come from what, 322? From 322 to now, the stability has gotten 100 times better.
Oh God, yes.
I'd like to touch on the point of making money. Like
Shoot.
you say, you've got certain ships attributed to your account through pledges, so that you will always have a way to make money, which is fine. But I would like for new players who might not even have the money to do that.
You can buy them in game.
Like
yes.
your skills make you money more than any ship ever will.
That's true too.
Like all I need from my cutter is to get to a reclaimer crew that I'm signing on to. That's it. That's all I need my cutter to do, and then I can start making money. Or a mole mining crew. If I just want to make money, I can sign on with a mining team, sign on with a reclaimer crew. I can be a turret gunner and go do some bounties with people, doing some some ERTs and grabbing the cargo. Right? Even if you can't get a ship for a money-making loop,
Right.
you can get in on those loops anyway by teaming up with people.
Well, that's one thing about SC.
Your skills will make you money more than a ship will.
A lot of people that start in their first month, okay, are skeptical of getting with other people on their first month.
Understandably so, absolutely. But those people don't have skills yet anyway.
But I mean, I'm just saying, the very first day that people get into the game, they go solo to see what it's like. Some go for a month or two, and they go through the learning curve and stuff like that. There are some that have gotten into the game in a day, and they've stepped away from it because it's kind of steep. I'm going to say this, and I didn't have a tutorial when I first got into the game. There was no new player experience.
Yeah,
So
it's relatively new. That's true.
I wouldn't really call what they've got. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's
not the
tutorial
greatest.
tier 0, and it is not going to teach you how to play this game.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But it's something, because every new player, when I get with new players, I tell them to go to Area 18. The reason why, Area 18 is more accessible than any of the other planets. Because as soon as you step out of the hab, everything you need is right there. You get
Literally,
that.
yep.
You get that map. You can find everything that you need right there.
I mean, everything you need is in Cubby Blast. They sell armor, weapons, food, water, tractor beams, multi-tools. I mean, everything, you have to go to the clinic for your med guns. But they sell meds at Cubby Blast, right? Everything you need is 2 shops.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I always go ahead, Tone. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Something else that this game really takes about a year to learn accurately, and a lot of it's muscle memory, because if there's so many keys involved, if you have to look at the key you're looking for, it really gets in the way of your time to achieve that particular button or action. A good organization is awesome, but the new player doesn't know that.
True.
If the game could relay that to the person, or communicate it in such a way as like, these are beginner groups, go here, or that would help out a lot.
I think the main thing, I mean, you're right, that kind of stuff could help. But the main thing that gets people over is, like, general chat.
Yeah.
And global chat, I'm sorry.
It's
Because-
a lot of toxic.
Okay, but compare it to other game global chats.
Yeah.
Right, if you're coming from any other game and you're used to that level of toxicity, and then you see people asking questions, like anytime someone asks a question, you might get a couple of smart ass Alt F4s or hold backspace. But mostly what you're gonna get is, a bunch of people trying to help and answers.
Yeah.
Right? You've got a community that teaches new players. I think that more than anything, if the community stays to that level, that more than anything is going to help new players get over putting themselves out there to try and find a group to play with.
Okay.
That said, after Squadron 42 comes out, and if it's successful and it becomes more mainstream successful, I expect global chat to become much, much more toxic.
Hold
Yes.
on one moment. In the chat, real quick. Let me see. Cutters are awesome. High hopes and expectations
Agreed. Thank you.
are the bane of this game. So true. When I got into the game, all I could do was walk around my hangar and look at my ship. Couldn't even
That
sit
was a
in
while
the
back.
seat. Everett.
Yeah.
Everett says that's why they have a guide for you to request, which is another player, which I am a guide. Right now I have it turned off because I've been doing a lot of other stuff, but I do open that up so I can help people out.
Yeah, we kind of gloss over the fact there is an entire learn to play section on the website that points you not only to the guide section but also to YouTube videos that have been handpicked and what else is there? Oh, the just text explanations and tutorials.
I've been a backer since 2016. After my first few attempts to play this game, learning the controls, setting up six, etc., the first patch threw all of that out of the window and I walked away. I returned in 2018. Enough said. First time flying in the game was for an override event for my F7A token overdrive. Oh, you came in 318.
Ooh, yeah, that was a bad time to come back.
Previously, I would fly in Arena Commander only, but the new flight model brought me into the game. I bought several ships over the years, and I would log into the IEs to pick my home base where the IE event was being held, only to be killed by elevators. The silent assassins, they do a lot of damage. But, I mean, all in all, the community can be very, very helpful. There can be a lot of toxicity at times, but it can be rewarding. When the game is working when the servers are running well, and you can tell when things are working well, it's a very rewarding experience. I'm going to say that. It's a pleasure. I've been through that, so if anybody, Go ahead.
Who were you reading there? The text. I don't have chat up, so I can't see who's typing that.
Orland.
And there are a lot of players like that, if I understood what he was saying correctly, that do that. They maybe bought into the game way early, and then every year, every 2 years, or when they hear something in the news, they might check in, but the game still isn't where they want it. Right? It's not stable. They have a bad experience, and then they leave. They go away for a while, and that's a perfectly good way to do it. If you don't have the tolerance for a game that, if you just don't have the tolerance for a game that isn't finished, that is full of problems, like that's a perfectly good way to kind of just touch base with it every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I know have taken There's some that have taken years away, and they come back and they check on it every once in a while, see what progress is made and things of that nature. The main thing right now is the new system, Pyro. That's what everybody is waiting for. And the server meshing test, the tech preview, even though it was very, very rough to enter, and what you saw in there, it was successful because they reached 1,000 players, and that's a big milestone for that. I was an original backer since I played Chris Preview and Wing Commander Freelancer. Over the years, let the game slow cook and would lift the lid to give a sniff and check out, usually. Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yep.
A lot of people do it. So, I mean, it all depends on how you perceive it. During IE this past March, I got in and have been playing every day. Yeah, but I mean, there's times when it's really, really rough. 322 got kind of crazy, and then when 23 dropped, 23, the first 2 weeks was really good. But then we got back to back to back to back to back events, and it started taking a toll on a lot of things. People were getting really frustrated with the slideshows and things like that. And then when 2024 dropped into the PTU, into Evo, you know, and I got in there, and I was in there every day checking it out, doing things, putting in bug reports and stuff like that. And when 24 dropped, it was rough. It was very rough. There was a lot of issues. They were hot fixing left and right. They were throwing hot fixes over the weekend, on Sunday, and stuff like that. And then, 2 weeks later, we get 24.1?
Yep.
They did it quick. It's getting better. The rough patches are less rough, but I agree on the events. Too many, too close together. Yeah, there were too many events that quick, I think. Go ahead.
I've said this a lot before. I'll say it again. From a player perspective, that is frustrating, and it is like perfectly reasonable to be annoyed by all those events. From a dev perspective, it is a great way to stress test the servers, gather data, and so trying to keep that sort of thing in balance, keep your players at a reasonable amount of happiness so they actually play and test the game, and keep enough, maximize the amount of data you're getting. It's a balancing act that they don't always get right, but I don't envy them the task of finding that balance.
Right.
Well,
go ahead, Tom.
on that note, the bane of my existence is free fly.
Right?
Okay.
Because of the number of people that jump on game that could have a better idea of how to play it, but we know that they're not going to be able to. I just take the week off.
A lot of people do. A lot of
Yep.
people do. I mean, I'm gonna say, I didn't do a free fly before I got into the game. I didn't do one. I just got into it, started doing stuff, and I was in 315. And then that's when medical gameplay started, and we got the separated inventory and things of that nature. Then we went into 317. 317 was a very, very stable patch once they got everything fixed up. It was
3 to about 9 was 317.
What do you mean?
Awesome.
Oh yeah, it was good. there wasn't
Yeah.
a lot of content in the game because of the fact that they were working on PES. And
But that
it
patch
got
is also
stale.
live for nearly 9 months.
Yes. And they, of course, they did patches as they went along, but it got more stable as it went. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then we had the Unmentionable, and then we had 319, which was written off of 318, and then we got 320, and then we started seeing more and more things. So, all in all, in my 3 years, I've seen a lot of progress and things that have been going very well. I mean, there were some rough times, just like everybody else has experienced, and I'm enjoying what's there. It does get frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. There's times when I said, okay, I'm stepping away for a couple hours or whatever, and then I come back to it, and then it all depends on how you perceive it. You can't play this game as a full game because it's not there yet. If you try to do that, you will get really frustrated, and that makes a big difference. Free Fly brings too many people into the game who have no skin for the game. They rush and invite their friends, throw a party, leaving your home a disaster.
But maybe next time they'll pay to get in.
Yeah, maybe. Going to take an SRV on the next Free Fly. It all depends. I mean, I brought a couple people into the game, and they couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal with the issues. They're waiting for it to settle out. I mean, it's now gotten better from when I first started. I'm not gonna lie. Anybody else got any thoughts and things on this? I'm gonna almost 3 hours in here today. Anything from anybody else? I would love to see the numbers on that. How many actually purchase after Free Flies? Yeah.
You can kind of sort of find those numbers, not the number of people who buy in, but every time there's a Free Fly, right, over the course of those weeks and the week or two after that, you can see on, by the day how much CIG made in pledges during that time and compare it to non-Free Fly. So you have to do a little bit of, statistic checking, but that data is out there.
Yeah, you can see it on the website. There, what is it? There's the funding section. And with the funding section, that will tell you what is going on. Funding stats. And right now, on the day of the 14th, they have accumulated 711,520. That's how much they've made since 3.21 has dropped in. Pledges can include gray market purchases, tokens, etc. during Free Flies. Yeah. So, I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for and things of that nature, but the website does have a lot of information. Anybody else?
I do have one thing.
Go.
Yesterday when we were in the Arena Commander and we're having fun and everything else, and I was talking about switching into precision targeting. It's not tab. That's a scam. The actual precision targeting toggle is left alt plus the second button or button 2 on your mouse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if you want to do precision targeting to max zoom at the different components on the ship you're fighting, you have to hold the left Alt plus button 2 and hold it. It'll zoom in and then it'll tell you which components, and then you can attack that target.
Sure. But I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'm gonna say 23 I was not very happy with, because they took out the default stick configurations, and Yogi Klatt stated that they haven't been updated because we're trying to get the new default configurations. So people who had sticks that were set up, right, all of a sudden they were gone. There was no defaults, and a lot of people had them for years and they weren't in there. You had to manually do all the stick configurations and stuff like that to get them working right. I was
That
not
is also
happy with that.
relatively new.
Yeah, I was not happy with that. I'm gonna say that. But yeah, Tone, you and I had the same problem, right? You had the same problem, yeah. A lot of people had that problem, and we'll see what's gonna happen with that. But has anybody else got anything that they want to say before I close this out? Red?
No, sir. Just go play. Let's go play.
Okay.
I made member on shipping.
Nice. Nice.
I'm
Super.
doing some QQs at the moment.
No,
Okay. Super, you got anything?
no, sir.
All right.
Lot was covered. I'm good.
All right. Red, you got anything? Or are you away? Or anything like that? Tex, you dropped in, and Tex, stop sneaking in here.
But you're in a deep conversation, so I'm just gonna sit and listen.
Okay. But that's it for the Snowbirds meeting room. I'm sorry if it went longer than what I usually do. I usually do about an hour, but there were some really good topics that we brought up, and
Meaty.
yes, they were meaty. And next week we will see what's new that's out, and I will bring up some more topics and things of that nature. I'm going to be doing a rework with Everett on the profile for the Snowbirds meeting room, and get some new stuff up. And everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Thanks for Everett stopping by, Billy's Brew, Red, Space Guy Ty, Super, Tone, and Tex, even though Tex didn't say anything. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Take care. See you tomorrow.